give an opening comment just about the practice the last couple of days, and then we'll take your questions. And we do have remote mics, so please raise your hand. No live streaming.
Yeah, we've had several practices since I saw you guys last, and the guys are pushing each other, challenging each other to get better. You know, I think we have two segments of our team. We have a segment of our team that is within their first year of being here. That would include this year's mid-years and last year's mid-years and summer enrollees. That's almost 50% of our team. And then we have another 50% that's been here for 2 or greater years. And they're in distinctly 2 different spots. Our job is to try to accelerate the learning process for the first younger group and continue the learning process and continue to push to create depth out of our older half. I'm pleased with the work we've done this spring. I'm not pleased with where we are. We need to continue to grow and get better. We were forced to change our scrimmage to Thursday last week due to inclement weather projected for today, which that was a good decision for us because we were able to get almost the entirety of our scrimmage in, and we probably would not have been able to do that today. So we were able to go inside today and have a really highly organized, detailed, energetic practice that I was really excited about, because you don't typically get your best practices a day after a scrimmage on a Saturday. And I thought we had a really good practice today. It gives a lot of credit, number one, to our players, number two, to our coaches for being very organized and detailed on it, and the enthusiasm of everybody that helped make it happen. So I was pleased with how hard they worked.
Kirby, just what were your general takeaways from the scrimmage on Thursday, and just what sort of stood out, offense and defense?
We had more mistakes than I would have liked on both sides of the ball, but offensively, administratively, we had a lot of false start penalties, alignment issues, 2 people moving. You know, the one of the youngest spots on our team outside linebacker is probably wide out when you include 2 portal arrivees. I don't know how many mid-year receivers we got. What do we have, 3 or 4? 3 mid-year receivers, 2 portals, that's 5. So 5 people basically trying to learn a new language. And it is a new language because they didn't speak that language prior to coming here. So that's a little bit of the frustration there. Probably, didn't attempt to run the ball, but we didn't run the ball as well as we did first scrimmage. Why? Maybe a little intentional, because we want to evaluate the quarterbacks and we want to throw the ball more with them. But all around, it was not as good a scrimmage as the first scrimmage, which was probably disappointing. And when you change schedules, sometimes young kids don't adjust to that well.
What have you seen from Lawson Lucky and Takey Smith this spring?
Lawson has grown up a lot. I think nobody benefited more from bowl practice than Lawson Lucky. He just said, you know what, I want to go bowl practice. He didn't miss one bowl practice. He was there every day, went everywhere with us, traveled with the team, blocked people on the scout team, scout special teams. He jumped on seniors and fought them, and he's grown up a lot, and he's getting very mature quickly. He is not where he needs to be. I think he'll be the first to tell you that he likes to consider himself a tough guy, and he's got a ways to go in order to be tough enough to be a physical blocker. He does have some savvy route running. He's got really good hands. He continues to improve, but he can't think that he's all the way there. Takey's been good. He's a leader. He does a really good job punching balls out. There's things he's got to continue to work on to be able to be an every down player for us, but he's tough. He's physical. He embodies what we want in a football player. And Takey's been through a tough road, guys. I mean, let's be honest. Before he ever got here, you guys, and I mean this in a nice way, had already labeled this guy to be an unbelievable All-American, first team, just everything, because he started as a freshman at West Virginia. And he's had to come here and compete and really earn it, and he's been through some injuries. But without the injuries, this is the most competitive environment there is to go out and play. And he's taken that head on, and I think he's put himself in position to have a really, really good season the way he's practiced and led.
Kirby, regarding the quarterbacks, using your word, how have they done as far as boneheadedness?
Less boneheadedness today. than previous. I don't think the second scrimmage was, there were moments where it was like, okay, at this point, concede the down, live for another down. If that happens to be third down, that's okay. You can punt, you can kick a field goal, you can go for it on fourth, but you can if you have boneheadedness. And they seem to grasp that better, but they all need to play. They all need to play football. Go out and play football, not have a drill, not routes on air, not 7-on-7. They need to play. And that's what we're trying to do in our practices, is make sure we get enough playing. Playing is third down. There's no greater pressure on a quarterback than third down. I mean, first and second down, play action and handoff, not a lot there. It's either there or it's not. Third down, that's where you make the separation, and we're trying to put those guys in that situation so we can improve them.
What have you seen from Damon Wilson going through his first spring?
Damon's growing up. I think all those mid-years kind of fit in the same bucket. It's like they sit in a meeting and I don't know what they're actually hearing. Sometimes I think they think they're hearing, but they don't, and they go out on the field and they're oblivious to what was said in the meeting. And he's not exempt from that, but he's not the only one. So all of them, when they walk on the field, the level of intensity and awareness that is required to play winning football, they don't even understand it. They don't even come close to understanding it. He fits in that bucket, but he does have ability. He has some pass rush ability. He's going to be a really good football player if he decides that he's going to work at it. And it's not going to come as easy as maybe it did in high school. You're rushing against Amarius Mims. You're rushing against Ernest Green, Blasky, some really good tackles. He hasn't faced people like that. So he's going to continue to improve. I love the way he works, and he is not sensitive to coaching, which I have a lot of respect for.
Kirby, in terms of switching the schedule and scrimmaging on Thursday rather than today, how did that change kind of what you guys did today? I don't know whether we're going to get you again before G-Day came, but how ready do you feel for putting on that little show?
It really just flip-flopped. I mean, what we would have done Thursday, we did today, and what we would have done, however I said that backwards, Saturday, we did, on Thursday. So it's like we just switched them. The worst part about that is that we probably didn't have enough time to clean everything up from the last scrimmage that I would have liked. We have an installation process that some things would have gone in Thursday that we didn't get to put in, that we had to go scrimmage without. But we got the scrimmage in. That was the most important thing, and I think I told our staff, everybody in the Southeastern Conference, Southeastern area was probably battling a little bit of weather and who managed it best. And we tried to manage it best by beating the weather. And I know we got a lot out today, and that was my goal.
Given some of the injury you guys have had at running back this spring, what do you see out of Ransom Robinson and what he's done with the extra reps that got thrown this way out of necessity?
Well, you see more things he needs to improve on because you get to see more things, period. But you also see flashes of explosiveness, burst of improvement. He's had a couple runs where he's really shown flexibility to drop his pads, take on contact, keep going. Knock on wood, his ball security's been good. His pass pro could use some improvement, but he's worked hard on that. He had a couple really good pickups today. So I think these opportunities for growth for him have been really good. He got lots of opportunities last year to run the ball where maybe you guys didn't see it, but we saw it because he did it in practice. But he didn't get as much pass protection and routes out of the backfield as he's getting now. So it's given him a chance to really put himself in position to have a great fall.
Coach, as far as Austin Blasky and Ernest Green go, how have you kind of seen that competition? How are they improving, and what areas do they specifically need to continue to work on?
They're both doing a good job. They're competing hard. They're rotating in there. They both are exceptional kids. They're great kids to be around. They both practice really hard. They're both extremely physical. They both have had dinged up injuries, and neither one has flinched. I mean, like, they won't come out. Ernest waves somebody off because he wants to stay out there and get his reps, and his ankles dinged up one time. Blasky the same thing, whether it's shoulder or knee. I see the guy limping. He wants his reps, and I respect more than anything a guy's mental and physical toughness. They both have that, and they've both done a great job. I mean, we have not made it through a season in I think 4 years that we didn't have a starting tackle miss a game. So it tells me you better have 3 tackles. And we're trying really hard to develop 3 to 4 tackles.
Kirby, havoc rate on defense was a big emphasis a few years ago. How did that evolve? Where do you think you all are with that?
Just as high as it's ever been. I mean, we emphasize it just the same. I think maybe it was talked about more in the media by me, and it was an emphasis. It's still an emphasis in our position meeting. We talked about it this morning. We talked about it today. We talked about it in the scrimmage. First scrimmage, we had like 13, 14%. It was nowhere near what we needed, and we kind of didn't do well in the scrimmage. Next scrimmage, it was 5% or 28%, which is over our goal, and we did well in the scrimmage. So it's a great indicator of success and failure on defense, and it kind of reflects offense too, because we go against them. So havoc hasn't gone anywhere. Havoc's still there. It's a matter of can you do it without giving up explosives, because at the expense of explosives, it's not worth it.
Xavier Story is now one of those older guys at that position. Just what have you seen from him during the spring?
He's rotated in with the ones. He's shown some exceptional acceleration, flashes. Consistency is the biggest thing with him. Like there might be a mental lapse every now and then, and he'll be the first to admit it, that when he gets it right, he can be really good. He's a kid that everybody else you recruit at that position, they come in and they played that position in high school. Smile played, Pop played. This kid played at a really small school until he went to IMG. Then at IMG, he had a foot injury. He lined up at the end of the line. He had never stepped back and keyed. And I got enough football awareness and football experience that kids that do that, it takes them a little while. They can't just Channing went through it a little bit, where you don't play at the second level a lot, and you got to key and diagnose. He has tools that some guys on our team don't have, and we've tried to utilize those, and we'll continue to. But he's developing, and he's rolling into those guys and playing well.
Kirby, 2-part question here. One, offensive personality with Coach Bobo and new personnel. Obviously, if that's starting to change or identify. And 2, your thoughts on your interior defensive line, defensive back.
Yeah, offensive personality is what you have, right? Whatever you have, you use what you have. And right now, it's not like we're not like saying, "Ooh, let's cater our offense to Brock, Ladd, Kendall Milton," who's not out there. We're not doing that. We're evaluating players, not plays. We're trying to figure out what players can help us. Then we'll worry about the plays. So I don't put a lot of pressure on offensive identity in the spring. Like, we got to figure out who the quarterback is. We got to figure out who the guys to get the ball are. Who are the guys that without the ball in their hands are valuable? Those are harder to find than guys. I mean, we got about 10 guys out there. We can put the ball in their hand. They're going to make plays. But who's blocking for them? I'm a lot more interested in who that is and figuring out who that is. So that's kind of where we are on that. And then defensive line, interior, I think that we have, we lost a really good player at that position, but we gained depth because the players that were 2s and 3s last year are more ready to play. Christian Miller's come along. Tyron Dawkins has come along and playing well. He's not really interior, but Bear's playing better. Nas and Zelo have to be careful not to be punching the clock. So we challenge them each day. Warren Brinson's done a good job, and then the young freshmen are going to be good players. They're not where they need to be right now. Jonathan Jefferson's a kid that's given us depth and playing well inside. So I feel good about the depth. Do we have havoc makers and train wreckers? I don't know that we got that. We got to try to manufacture that.
Let's take 2 more questions.
With guys like Marvin Jones and Jalen Walker that are still so early in their development, but not necessarily able to be out there this spring, what kind of things are y'all having them do to stay engaged and continue along with their development?
They're in every meeting. They're in every rehab. They're in every walkthrough. They get walkthrough reps. They stand behind. They have a script. They coach the position. They run during special teams. But both those kids, I can pull up the tape and be like, man, who's that back there doing the play like 50 yards behind? I'm like, oh, that's Jalen. Oh, that's Marvin. They're standing by me with the script. Hey, coach, why didn't he do this on that play? So they're engaged, and the strength staff has them to condition as well. So I'm very pleased with where both those guys are, and I'm pleased with how they're handling practice.
Can you give an assessment of all phases of special teams, and then have you got some young guys that are showing that they're going to be contributors there?
We don't really do all. We do phases, but it's hard to measure them because we don't you know, we're either going against a scout team or in the scrimmage, we might compete a little bit. I think Thorson's punted the ball well consistently. Zerk's actually had 2 of the better days I've ever seen any field goal kicker have, outside in the wind, against the wind. I mean, he's been really consistent in terms of hitting kicks, and he's going to be in competition obviously this fall. But I've been really pleased with how hard he's worked at it. We got a big battle coming up at kickoff returner and punt returner with Kieris being gone. So who is that going to be? Dom's worked there, Ladd's worked there, Dylan Bell's worked there, Dejan's been out and in. We got a lot of guys battling for those spots, but I'm pleased with our units. Like usually we have 3 deep units. We've got 4 deep units on most of those now because of all this influx of mid-years. Thanks.
Thank you.